Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I thought we would do some more filter reviews. I have a few filters hanging around that I honestly don't use, and before I get rid of them I would like to upload a review of them to share it with everybody, my experience with these various filters. And in this review we're going to talk about some of the smaller Marineland filters. I have two of them. One of them is going to be the older iteration of the filter, which is the Penguin 100, and then the other one is the newer filter that Marineland has to replace the 100, which is the Penguin Pro 125. So we'll talk about both of these filters together and sort of compare them and give some impressions of both of them. Now the Penguin 100, the older version of the filter, they're actually both for up to 20-gallon tanks. The Penguin 100 does 100 gallons per hour, whereas the Penguin Pro does 125 gallons per hour. This one they both use filter cartridges, but the 100 uses the right size A and the Pro 125 uses the right size B. Now, we'll talk about some of the other differences after we open them up, but just quickly, the Pro 125 has an internal motor or a pump that's inside the tank, so you don't have to prime it. The 100 does not have that. They both have bio wheels, so they're similar in that regard. And then the lids are also going to be a little different. The 100 has a two-piece lid, whereas the Pro 125 has a single lid that is hinged. So depending on your preference, that might be a difference that would matter to you. So something to consider when purchasing these filters. The other difference that is important to me is the price difference. So the 125 I picked up on Amazon, and if my memory serves me right, it was something like $12. So super cheap. You can find these super cheap. So that's definitely a good deal for a filter, a brand new filter for $12. Whereas this Pro 125 I got at PetSmart for like $35. So significantly more expensive. So as we get into these two filters, and I'll take them downstairs and put them on a tank, and we'll talk a little bit more about them then, we can sort of flush out whether the extra money is actually worth spending to get the 125 over the Penguin 100. So let's talk about the 100. Well, I'm just going to open it up real quick here and set it up. All right, so like I was saying, this filter has a two-piece lid. So there's the back part of the lid and the front part of the lid that covers the bio wheel, which is right here. Other than that, I got an extra piece of media in there that it doesn't come with. It comes with this filter cartridge that slides into the back of the filter, and that's going to be your primary filtration. Now, moving on to the Penguin Pro 125, we'll open this one up. So this filter is a little bit different. As I mentioned, it has a single hinged lid here, so that's how you would open it up. Also has the bio wheel. This one is significantly larger than the Penguin 100, and the cartridge for right size B. Also on this filter, it has a knob right here where you can adjust the flow, so that's definitely an improvement over the 100 if you have a tank where you would need to adjust the flow. And unlike the 100, your impeller housing is in this motor that sits inside the tank, which primes the filter itself, so you don't have to fill the back like you do in the 100. And I won't open it up, but it disconnects here and comes apart, and then you can pull it apart and service your impeller when you need to. So we'll take it downstairs, we'll hook it up, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. Alright, so let's try these filters out. We'll start with the Penguin 100. We'll take the lids off here. And if you recall, this one does not have an internal motor like the 125, so we're going to have to use a cup. Alright, so once the filter is primed, we will plug it in. Alright, so the filter is starting to try to pull some water in and start the process. It's struggling a little bit. And recall, this one does not have a flow control, so it's just going to flow as it flows, and that's basically it. So there's really very few options with this filter. It does seem to be struggling to get started. A couple other things to note: if you're using this tank or this filter on a small tank like this 10-gallon, this additional piece will not fit, which has your little flow control for the interior. This is kind of cheap too, keeps coming off. But at any rate, you won't be able to use that on a 10-gallon tank, so you'll just need to install it like I have it installed. So it's finally starting to push some water here, and it should be starting any second now. So there we go. It's rolling. The bio wheel isn't spinning very well, which is kind of crazy considering that there isn't anything clogging it at the moment. It's also making a weird humming noise. I'm going to pick up the microphone here and give you a taste of that. So again, it works. The water is flowing, it's filtering the water, but the bio wheel doesn't spin, and it's kind of noisy, to be honest. So in my estimation, that's not a great verdict right off the bat. So we'll unplug this one and we'll come back and do this one. Stay tuned. Alright, so moving on, we'll plug this one in and see how it goes. And recall, this one does not need to be primed. So this one is currently filling up as we speak, and I'll mess with the flow control here in a minute. Alright, so that's with the flow all the way up. And as you can see, the bio wheel is either not spinning or kind of spinning. Again, it's not a huge deal, but you know, if you're going to market something as being biological filtration, you would hope that it works, and in this case it really doesn't work. So not that great. It is significantly quieter than the 100. So what's the verdict with these two filters? Well, I think that they're both solid choices if you're on a budget, and I honestly think there are better options in this size category for multiple reasons. In particular, I like AquaClears. The number one reason is they're just really awesome filters that last a long time. Lots of people use them, lots of people recommend them. So they're good from a performance and longevity perspective, and honestly, these things are bulky. I mean, the 125 in particular is really bulky. I don't think I would put this on a 10-gallon because it's so bulky. If I was going for a smaller tank like a 10-gallon, I think the 120 or the 100, just aesthetically speaking, fits on a 10-gallon better. This takes up nearly half of the back of the tank, which I think is just ridiculous for a 10-gallon tank. So from a performance and from an aesthetic point of view in particular, I think the AquaClear is a much better choice. And honestly, the Tidal 135 is also probably a much better choice than either of these filters. So I would prefer to go with those. But if you are a Marineland fan and you like these removable cartridges, which I know some people do, these are going to be fine choices. And I know from working in an aquarium store that Marineland hang-on back filters do last a very long time. We have a few running in the aquarium store that are probably over 20 years old, and the only thing you need to replace periodically is the impeller. So they do last a long time. It's just, in my opinion, they're kind of gimmicky with the bio wheels that don't work. They're kind of bulky sitting on the tank, so they don't look that good. I'm not a big fan of this hinged lid, because when you open it up, it'll keep falling down if you have it close to the wall. So you need to allow for a little more space on the back of your tank from the wall, so that this lid, if we can get it open, so that this lid can swing back and stay opened. Otherwise it's going to be like this, and it's always going to be falling down when you're working on the tank, which defeats the whole purpose of having a hinged lid in the first place. It'd be much easier to have this two-part lid and just take it off, get it out of the way, and then you can do your maintenance. I also think these filters, especially the one with the internal motor, if you're just using it as a mechanical filter, they do a good job of that with these cartridges. Is a good option, especially if you have another filter that's primarily doing your biological filtration. So if you have a canister filter that has a bunch of biomedia and you just want to use one of these or a larger model for your mechanical filtration, I definitely think that's a very viable option and a very viable application for this type and model of filter. So in the end, which one of these filters is better? I think they both have their purpose. I think if you're going to use them for a small tank like a 10-gallon, go with the Bio or the Penguin 100. It's way cheaper at $12. You can almost buy 3 of them compared to the one of this, and it's going to fit on the tank a little better. And their gallons per hour, again, are pretty much similar, 100 gallons per hour and 125 gallons per hour. It's not a giant difference. Yeah, the bio wheel's bigger in this one, but as we've seen, they don't really work that well anyway. So I think that's sort of a moot point, and it doesn't really matter all that much. Now, if you're going with an actual 20-gallon tank, you probably would want to go with the 125. And if you have it in a room where noise matters, as we've seen, the 125 is still running, it's got an internal motor, and it's very quiet. So to sum up this video, they're both okay filters, and they both would work for certain applications and in certain situations. But again, I think if you're looking for a hang-on back filter, you can find much better options in an AquaClear or a Tidal 135 from Seachem. And honestly, another filter that I've used way more than these because I like it better and it used to run on my quarantine tank when I needed additional filtration is a Top Fin Pro hang-on back, which is sort of reminiscent of the AquaClear, and I think they sort of copied some of the design features of an AquaClear in that filter, and it's actually a decent filter. So that one I should be reviewing soon enough. So I can't thank you enough for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.